So just to get back to the business side of things, I recently discovered this phrase, business as missions. Not business for missions or business to missions, but business as missions. And there's a whole thing about it, but what comes to mind when you hear that phrase, business as missions?
When I hear that phrase, I think actually it's really funny that somehow we are doing that. We didn't think that was I didn't think, like if I think about my life, I didn't think, oh, I'm going to start a business to be able to share the gospel. No. But more and more, as I speak with people and as we connect with people, the more I'm realizing that it is such a wonderful way of sharing the gospel. And it's also such a practical way of, because actually sharing the message of the good news and then living the good news, and then also, and when we did Veritas 4, I was really blessed by the 3, Justice, just realized that actually business is such okay, wait, let me rather say this. Over time I realized that actually there's so many different spheres of influence in life and in the world. And I just had this like, oh, ministry, and that's not bad, I'm not saying ministry is bad, but it is only one sphere of influence. I would say that, or a place that you could be positioned to influence people, if I say it in an easier way. And I realized that actually there's, if we embrace that we have been given skills, we've been given passions, we've been given giftings. I mean, I just want to say, I never knew that I was an entrepreneur. Like, I didn't know that. But the Lord, now I'm like, okay, yeah, yes, we started a business. But that actually in the Lord wiring in us a specific way, He positions us in a specific sphere of influence for us to be able to connect with people. So business, very practically, is that, like, actually is using your gift and then allowing it to benefit others. And so if you're a pastor, it's the same thing, but if you're in business, you're just in a different space of connection with other people. And the way that we do it also, I think, is incredibly important. So I think we answered the question of like, what does it look like for God's kingdom to come? It's not only in one space like of ministry, but it's actually in, or rather, let me say, the religious sector. But that actually, sure, I can see equity established in the life of one individual by how they are treated in our workspace, and because we have the opportunity to see them get a salary, and because we have access to opportunities that they can engage in. So it's very practical ways of God's kingdom coming. And then also it is a testimony to others who are running business, but not with the same ethos and value system. And the clash of value system actually provides an opportunity to witness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is one of the things that excite me about business, is the fact that on a very practical scale you can change a community.
Yeah.
Because we are living in South Africa, employment rates are very low, and business and small businesses, medium business, different enterprises are key ways in actually creating jobs and just being able to pay someone a salary.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that something that resonates with you guys at First Light as well?
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I think as well, we don't realize the ripple effect of actually just even one individual being catalyzed. It's actually just hope. It's the hope of Jesus as our anchor, and He's coming. But it's also that there's a practical way out of their circumstance, and it's Him that provides it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So just one last question. You mentioned different spheres of influence. There's government, there's healthcare, there's business. And for people that are in different spheres, they're not purely in ministry as we would understand it or define it. How do you integrate those two? How do you integrate your calling in life with your work life?
That's a good question. I think there's layers to the answer. I think I'll go back to that concept of avoda, which is us constantly having our worldview changed by the word, a biblical worldview, which we need, because I think that will help us to be present and engage where God positions us. So that's a personal journey that you will walk with the Lord. And actually acknowledging that we were created as people that are meant to be productive.
Right.
Whether it is that you're a stay-at-home mom or whether that is you are a business owner, whatever. And you could be all of them. So
At the same time.
yeah, you could. But the other thing that I want to say, I think that prayer and anchoring in prayer, in the spaces that we've been put in, where we are required to execute tasks because God puts us there, prayer helps us to recognize that there's significance in those moments.
Absolutely.
So I think that for me, the other is actually just very practically community, the people that we surround ourselves with. I cannot tell you how just being championed by community or the people around me have made me realize I'm supposed to be where I am and doing what I'm doing. Even if the Lord is saying, this is it, and I've invited you into this, you need it, we need that thing. And the other thing that I've just recently been unpacking a little bit is the concept of, we always talk about discipleship, but I recently was introduced again afresh to it, asking the Lord what it is. And if we think about being an apprentice to Jesus, we think about three main goals, and the one is to practice the presence of Jesus, so to learn what it means to be with him constantly, to actually mimic our lives after him, and then the third then to actually do what he does, and for that to translate into every role that we will be called into, whether we are a mother, or me personally, whether I'm a mother, a wife, whether I am in the coffee shop as a barista, or whether I'm the team coordinator in the cafe, and just asking those primary things, like how do I practice God's presence here? And I guess that again links with prayer, and the diligence of just seeking him in the context of community, and having those things shifted. And actually, the more that we anchor that into practical realities, like for example, someone walks into the cafe and I just ask them how their day is, and I recognize that moment as sacred, and so whatever they answer, I want to respond I want to respond honestly, actually, truly, from who Christ is in me and how he's wired me, and I engage in that moment. That moment becomes a sacred moment, because I'm acknowledging that God is with me, and that God has brought this person here, and I believe that he's sovereign and that he orchestrated it. And so actually that moment is significant, whether it is, how are you? I'm fine, thanks. Can I have a long black? But how I engage in that interaction, how I do it, how I make that cup of coffee, becomes significant because of that.
That's actually a very liberating way of thinking about it and approaching it, because we always seem to have this tension, I need to do something else. So this is not really spiritual, this doesn't really count. What counts is, the following, and in that category we put all the spiritual things, church, people, turning to Jesus, all of those things, to actually see every encounter of my day, everything I do, it's part of God's plan and design for me.
Yes, amen, I agree. I do think I would like to just put a little, this is just my stirrer, but I think we can also engage in our day and use that as almost like a little, not an excuse, let me not say an excuse, but we coast on it.
Right.
And actually the purpose is that we are intentional, and that we're present and that we engage, because I can do it well, but I can miss an opportunity of sharing the gospel because it's a little uncomfortable. And so actually it's so fun to be in the cafe, because I'm constantly, someone is like, I have a headache, and then I'm just like, so should I pray for this person? Yes, and so there is also the reality of the barriers that we have to cross, and we shouldn't just coast on this I'm experiencing God in the reality of my day. There is also the stepping out of my comfort zone, but I don't think that they come at they're together. They belong to each other. So.
Thank you, Maxine. Thank you for sharing with us, and we're very excited about your journey, Hein's journey, and the whole First Light journey. And we keep praying for that.
True.